It's a web-based interface, and so it's broken down into really 3 tiers. You have a web application there. That's the thing that you see. You have the BI server layer, and then finally the database layer. To a certain extent, OBIEE acts as a query aggregator. What it does is it translates requests from end users into either logical SQL in the case of relational databases or something like MDX for Essbase databases, and pushes that down into the database layer and then serves the information up in a meaningful way. It can access information in a variety of different data sources, so traditional data sources like a relational database or an OLAP cube like Hyperion Essbase, flat files, and many other different sources. And again, those queries that are coming from that web application layer and getting down into the database layer, they're all being routed through the RPD, which is, in the Essbase world, how we define an Essbase application within the RPD. In terms of the presentation of that information, information can be presented visually through things like dashboards. That can be everything from some of the charts you see here on the screen to more data grids like you see on that top screenshot there in the bottom left-hand corner. So presentation of information and visualization of information is really the meat of OBIEE. You also have the opportunity to do ad hoc analytics in OBIEE. So as you can see here, we've got some screenshots of the dragging and dropping of information, which is particularly useful against an Essbase application. You have drill down capabilities. I'll talk about this one briefly. So that's the concept of getting from an Essbase application and drilling down into relational detail, for example. So going from more summary information down into, for example, transaction level information. As I referenced earlier, this is the RPD. The RPD, again, is how we route information from people's requests down to the databases. Interestingly enough, it moves from the right-hand side of the screen to the left-hand side of the screen. So you can see there on the right-hand side, I have all my physical databases translated up through the BMM layer, or the business model and mapping layer, up to the presentation layer. The presentation layer is really what we service up through the web interface and things like dashboards within subject areas. And the build of the RPD really takes 3 steps. The first step is getting your data source into the RPD, so into the physical layer, and that's the import of it. The second step is really to refine how that model is put together in the BMM layer, so that's refining your join patterns, building any hierarchies if you need to, like you would against a relational data source. And then finally, the third step is organizing that into subject areas in a meaningful way so that when you have dashboards and reports, they're organized, again, in a meaningful way. So now that I've moved through a definition of what OBIEE is, let's talk about